A brain with Alzheimer's makes day-to-day life difficult.
I leave myself notes. Sometimes I'll get up and look at the note and think, what does that mean?
Pati Hoffman was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease 7 years ago. She has learned that when a disease like Alzheimer's strikes the brain and robs it of memory and recollections, the essence of who you are is taken away. Yet Alzheimer's disease is not swift. It begins slowly, stealthily, removing memories building block by building block, along the way giving worrisome hints as it attacks the brain that something is not quite right.
I got lost going to a couple of my restaurants that I went to all the time and ended up in a cornfield. And I called my boss and I said, I'm lost, I don't know where I am. And they had to come look for me.
But Pati was still in denial, like most people who ignore or rationalize the early creeping effects of Alzheimer's.
I thought it was just kind of stress because there were some things going on in my family. And so I didn't think that much of it. Then, not long after that, I got lost right here around my home. I couldn't remember where my house was.
That was it for Pati. She couldn't deny it any longer, especially after a pretty definitive diagnosis was made.
They sent me to Northwestern, the Northwestern Hospital, and they did the spinal tap, they did everything, and they said that I had the amyloid plaques and that there was no cure.
The onset is usually difficult and tricky to detect.
We did yoga. There's some really funny ones of us doing yoga.
Leah and Anya Drew remember when their mother was in denial and not recognizing her symptoms.
She hadn't, we had. Both of us were a little kind of pushing our dad to ask her to go to the hospital, or to the doctor rather, and get checked up and see if there's something wrong, because we noticed something.
Oh, I'm sure that can be pretty overwhelming. I'm glad you've given us a call. We certainly can help.
Those who answer helpline calls at the Alzheimer's Association say callers are anxious when they inquire.
People call us because they want a resource, they're looking for a nursing home perhaps, or an in-home care provider. A lot of people are looking for disease information, or they're curious about the symptoms of the disease.
Es muy importante hablar con su médico.
But when an early stage diagnosis is supported, emotions can be raw and bounce all over the place.
We do laugh about it. We don't let it get us down.
Cindy Kolick and Alex MacPhail have been married for over 30 years. And when Cindy was diagnosed several years ago, even though she had her own suspicions, it was like a punch to the stomach for them both.
I think the only time we ever really cried in earnest over the disease was just after we got the diagnosis. And we drove home, and as we were driving across from the east to the west side of Manhattan, and we'd stop. I would stop every other block and just pound on the wheel, and I couldn't understand why a person at 53 could be diagnosed with Alzheimer's. It didn't make sense to me. We didn't understand it. We knew it was going to be bad. We didn't know how bad. And when we parked the car, we just hugged and cried for a while, and that's all we could do.
My mother was directly affected by a neurological disorder that was related to Parkinson's over 2 decades ago.
Doug Cook, this year's Reason to Hope chairman, saw how a loved one with dementia can impact many different people.
It's something that's both physically and mentally exhausting and can definitely affect everybody around, not necessarily afflicted with the disease, but also friends, loved ones, neighbors directly.
Even well-meaning friends can touch a nerve without knowing it.
The question I get all the time is, how's your mom? And I'm like, she's dying. I don't know how to answer that.
Someone asked me once if she was doing any better. I wanted to laugh in their face. Like, seriously? Do you know anything? It's almost insulting to ask something like that. The typical question, too, is, does she know who you are? Why are you asking me if my mother knows who I am? That's not a comforting question.
Yeah. So it's hard. I mean, there's no rule book in how to deal with this.
Alzheimer's has a special cruelty built in, a heartlessness that gnaws at loved ones, grinding them down bit by bit.
It's different than someone fighting like cancer, which is so prevalent, right? Because they're still with you mentally, and you can talk to them about putting up a good fight and keeping their head up and stay positive, and this is just like a waiting game. Just watching her dissolve.
It is at this point, or long before loved ones get to this level of frustration, that the Alzheimer's Association can be a terrific resource.
You and I probably also know that sometimes people don't even know what to ask, and that's the real important part about the Alzheimer's Association. We can help them to anticipate as best as they can what's coming next and how they can best prepare themselves.
We also do some early stage programming for individuals who are in the early stages of the disease and their caregivers.
That means support groups for patients and caregivers?
We have both. In terms of the general caregiver, when I talk about the almost 90 support groups we have, those are typically for general caregivers. So those are going to be for the individuals who are caring for somebody with dementia or memory loss in general.
Caregivers are often overlooked by the public, but in reality, they give a lot of themselves and can help the patient to transition in a gentle manner.
If I didn't have the caregiver that I have with Russ, I probably could not live alone. Chances are I could not live alone. And I do realize that. Sometimes I can leave things on that shouldn't be left on. I don't cook anymore unless he's home. And so there's safety issues, yeah.
As Alzheimer's disease chips away at the memory of patients, they follow a parallel course of becoming more isolated, probably one of the more emotionally painful aspects of the progression.
I can't drive. That was big. That's a big loss. I also really can't go on my bicycle unless someone is with me. I cannot be alone with my grandson. I used to spend time and watch him, and I cannot be alone with my grandson anymore. Someone else has to be present.
I still remember all the stuff that I used to do, and I can't do it anymore. So it's, you know, it's frustrating. You know, I have to have somebody to take me to wherever I wanted to go, or, you know, and he does all of that. He does all the cooking because I can't be with the flame. I can't see that too well.
For people with Alzheimer's and loved ones who are feeling the never-ending stress of providing care and understanding, the Alzheimer's Association offers wonderful support in many areas.
There are ways that they can give back and help fight this disease. They can join us for advocacy. They can join us in Trial Match, where they can give back to society and hope that the next generation doesn't have to face this disease.
Until you have experienced what it is like to see a loved one with Alzheimer's slip away, you'll never fully understand the torment. The people at the Alzheimer's helpline know. They often get the call from the person saying, "I'm at the end of my rope."
Yes, we do. I'm about to jump out of a window. Yes, we do get that call. And what we want to do then is reassure the person, say, "I'm so glad you called. We're going to try to find some help for you. Here are some resources in the community that perhaps you weren't aware of."
And then there is the unspoken concern that follows every child of a person diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Will this be me one day?
for me, it's a huge concern. Every time I forget something, I'm always like, I hope this isn't the day.
Those of us who have felt the icy grip of Alzheimer's and our families are eagerly awaiting a cure. No other person should fall under the tiptoeing shadow of Alzheimer's disease.
I can handle this. And if I can help other people through the Alzheimer's Association, first of all, they were my rock and still are. And they've been very, very good to me. Without that group, without that support, I think I would have been devastated. So I thank the Alzheimer's Association for that.
Some days I go to visit her and she'll take my hand in her hands and kiss it, or remember that day when we were there and she grabbed your face and kissed you, and it was like she had this clarity of, this is my daughter, I love you. And some days we go and you can see it's like cobwebs behind her eyes. So you can't put it to rest, ever.
More so, I think, to let people that are directly affected by this disease, that it's okay. It's okay to talk about it. It's okay to help out. It's okay to give a helping hand to other people that, like I said, are directly affected by it, or friends and family.
But all I know is I have to keep fighting and keep after the hard stuff, the things that are really hard for me to do. I have to keep at it and work at it and work at it. It takes me a lot longer, but every little thing that I can do better, then it's kudos for me.